Hi, everyone, and welcome to the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show in Author's Corner. And I'm excited to welcome the host of Author's Corner, Frank Fiore. Frank, how are you? Another wrestler, but this guy wrestled in the day when wrestling really meant it was like in the Attitude Era / earlier before that with Hulk Hogan and all those superstars. Frank, how are you?
That's great. I'm
Um,
doing great. I'm looking forward to hear from Billy what this. I know very little about the professional wrestling,
Yeah,
but
I know you do, but you're going to have to learn about it, especially if I'm my agency and you're my client, Frank, and I'm going to get you deals and different things. You're going to be
maybe we
part of
could
the
do
pro
some.
wrestling game.
Maybe we could do some thumb wrestling. That's about
Oh, that's it. But my guest again is Dave Sullivan. Dave, let's see the copy of the book. Go ahead and tell me the title of the book, and we're just going to have fun talking wrestling.
it's Meet Dave Sullivan, and it's just kind of just story of my life, how I went from football to pro wrestling and all that stuff.
And then you went back after that, right after pro wrestling, you went on to coaching, right? After that fact, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And then now
So,
I kind of teach coach and I wrestle part time, kind of like you work just to help out in certain towns, independence.
well, because you got the mind, and that's what I miss about the business, the old school way. So, did you always want to be a professional wrestler? I didn't. How about you?
No, I play in the NFL because both my dad and my uncle played in the NFL. They were on the original Broncos teams. So I grew up in Denver in my early years, and I always wanted to play football. I did like pro wrestling. I found it fascinating watching it because back then I lived in Denver, Omaha, and AWA, of course, was the big territory back then. So it was always fun watching King Harley and Vern Gagne. You know, the guy from Omaha here that said he was from Germany, the Baron von Raschke and all that stuff. So kind of grew up on that. So you always enjoyed it. But my first love was football growing up.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right, Frank, go ahead and ask him a pro wrestling question. Frank has talked about the word fake before, haven't you, Frank? So, Dave, you might get offended, but go ahead, Frank.
no, it's okay. At what age did you feel you had? Did you like to do wrestling? Did you like? What age did you start doing the wrestling with the kids, with your friends, things like that?
Uh, it didn't really start till about 88, getting back into 87. I mean, when I got cut from the NFL with the Steelers, I went into coaching for a little bit. I was in college and I got my master's. And so I was up in St. Cloud working, and they had an AWA event there, and Andre Giant was on the card, Jesse the Body, Ken Patera, and all these guys. And I was head of kind of security because it was a fundraising event, and so I got to meet them all. And of course, you meet the Giant, you're just like going, "Holy!" You just don't realize what a large human being is. You stand next to him, and then that's where I got the bug, and I started getting trained by Harley Race and Bob Geigel down there in Kansas City.
I worked for Harley Race back in the day when he ran out in Missouri.
Right.
And I also worked with him in St. Louis with Cowboy Bob Orton in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I got those
Always.
opportunities.
Yeah, I started with him in the '80s and did the same shit. Yeah, same thing.
So we have a
Cowboy Bob.
come a little similar path. I was a college basketball player, became professional wrestler.
Yeah.
I look at it like in a lot of ways as a legitimate 6'10". The business, big guys were really big in the business at that time. When you could find a big guy, that was the big thing. These guys look big. What are your thoughts on that? Now with how guys are so small, a lot of them.
I know. I mean, I personally think they're missing that. How do you call a heavyweight champion if you don't have a heavyweight? You're all mid.
Right.
You're pretty much all lightweight champs, really. I mean, you're not a heavyweight champ. The heavyweight champ's the big guy. Comes in the ring and intimidating, or he's a top heel, whatever. I mean, top baby face. But it's. I don't know how you have a heavyweight championship belt and you don't have a big guy. I mean, Brock Lesnar carried it. He's a freak. So that made sense. But when they're 200 pounds and they're heavyweight champ, that don't make sense.
The cruiserweights now becoming heavyweights and making it the business. You got to do flips and all that stuff instead of just being larger than life. I don't like that side of it, especially as a big guy. Right?
It's gymnastics now. I mean, what the hell? If I want to turn that on, I'll watch the Olympics.
Exactly. But again, it's starting to be a little bit of a mixture, but we'll see. Go ahead, Frank, with the next question. We're going to go in more in the book, but go ahead.
But Triple H, I mean, he's a big guy. He's got to understand you got to have some big guys there.
Yeah. I don't know why Triple H is doing that. It might be, who knows? Maybe things will change. I don't know. Well, go ahead, Frank.
Yeah.
Is the wrestling the contest or whatever, is it similar to the fights, mad bantamweight, small weight and heavyweight, that have those kind of scales or what?
Well, it's not like that. It was more cruiser or light, or be lightweight, or like the WWF, or even when they were the WWF, it was intercontinental. But you always had, you had something for your tag teams, women's, and then you always had a belt for the slider guys so they could work, and then you had your big guys, the champs. The one that drew the what. I mean, Andre the Giant was an automatic draw. He walked in the building, and it was like they packed in just to see that guy. So I mean, it was Ken Patera was the Olympic champion weightlifter, and Jesse's a big guy. I mean, you just had a lot of guys 6'4", like you 6'10". I mean, it was a
Yeah,
big man's
exactly. I
game.
still have a shot, right? At 51, I still have a shot to maybe make a run, especially if I get the documentary in the following, because the business is all about a wow factor. Indies to get anything. I'm doing it for fun, meaning I'm looking to make money in the documentary, and I'm about to do another movie and all that. So I'm more intrigued by the other things. Like one good friend of mine, an actor, wrote a screenplay for the Road Warriors, and he's a pretty big actor, and we're looking to fund that. So doing this movie on the Road Warriors. So there's a lot of different things we're going to be kind of collaborating. Let me talk about specifically enough, working at WCW. When you worked there, that was when the WCW was really starting to grow, right? Kind of explain.
Right. It took off. It just, it kind of all started when Kevin came in, and they really had Gagne was there too. Greg Gagne, he's one of the bookers, and they really had a good friendship because they WA with Hulk, and that's kind of how, because Ted, if you listen to Bischoff talking, we didn't always know that behind the scenes. If they don't pull something in big, he was going to drop it, take it off air, just because of all the complications they had with other issues, and inside the office. But then when they got Hulk, and then everything kind of come together, and we just took off. It was amazing.
Frank, did you know that Ted Turner was a huge wrestling fan, Frank?
Nope.
Yeah, big time.
I know he did a lot of wrestling he probably did a lot of wrestling with Jane Fonda, but
no, he was a big fan. He kept it. I mean, even through the down years, he kept it on his TV at TBS. So I mean, he probably saved that area down there, the NWA at the time.
Now, working with Hulk Hogan and being in that era, right before the Attitude Era, right? You were there. You were around still some, but you went to WCW. They were finally making a run, and the whole gimmick with Hogan in a way and different things, and then with Kevin Sullivan. What did you feel about being part of that run and kind of part of seeing something special happen?
It was exciting. It was a lot of fun. We were busy as heck and doing a lot of stuff other than just interviews and wrestling, but with other things because of the Hulk coming in, and it was a lot of excitement. And then Kevin, with all his knowledge of the sport, he knew how to put the zip on it and make it really good. And we kind of somehow put it together. It was a fun time.
All right, Frank, anytime to ask a superstar, WCW superstar, a question, go ahead, Frank.
Yeah. Let me ask you about this. On Gutfield, they had Tyler there, right? Tyrus there, and he was always wearing this big belt, the champion of such and such. What what was he champion of? What was the role or whatever the game plan there
with Tyrus? Remember, he was with NWA at that time.
Okay. Okay. I don't know what to give. They shot it down. It didn't last very long. I don't know the whole story behind that. That was kind of different. And then it didn't really go a lot of places.
I was just wondering.
I don't know. I don't know the background on that. I really don't.
Oh, well, he's done very well now on Fox. He has his own show.
Yeah. He's doing real well. Yeah. He changed it and did real well with it.
Yeah.
And you were around, like you said, working with NWA and stuff. You saw Tyrus where he was like TNA, then went to NWA and then retired. Because he's smart. He saw it. But ultimately, I don't know if he saw the big picture because he's with Fox and all the different things. Because keep wrestling, if he probably gets a bigger run, but maybe he just saw it as too much travel. That's the problem in the wrestling business. How much did you travel, Dave? Kind of go into that travel schedule. It was nuts. I mean, I worked for Burt and for USWA, and I was working 6 nights a week, and we were constantly on the road, one town to the next, just driving in cars. You were flying, but sometimes driving, but the schedule's just ridiculous.
It was because when I started out, started out in the beginning of at the end of the territory business. So like, I was up in the PNW there with Rowdy Piper and all those guys. And even up there, it's the same way. It was 6 nights a week. We're always gone, traveling town to town, and trying to get a workout in between wrestling and all that stuff. And because at nighttime we go out and have a good time after the matches. You've been there, and then when you got in the WCW or even Japan, it was the same way. And you did Germany. Germany was kind of nice because you went to a town and you wrestled in that town for
You
30
wrestled
days
the whole
and then you go to the
week
next
there,
town.
10 days, 10
It
days
was,
straight.
it was the best.
Yeah.
I would do that. That's the best experience wrestling ever. Because the same thing, the NW, when we were in the WCW, we'd fly into town and then we'd hit 5 shots and we'd fly back out. And so you're gone. You just get your stubs and your information where you're going, and you're gone. And sometimes you got 2 shots a day. You remember that you do on the weekends you do a morning, an early afternoon, and
Yeah.
a late evening. And
No,
you got
so
them
a
in 2 different
or
towns,
they
and you're
wrestled
just
you and you're working the indies. You work three matches.
Yeah.
These guys now you tell them to work twice. They look at like you're crazy. But the late Burt Prentice would say, okay, you're opening your second match, then you're going to interfere in the fourth match, and then you're going to be in a tag match, and then we're going to be in the battle royal. And you're working that many times, because you only have 6 wrestlers for the whole show sometimes.
Right. I mean, no, it's you guys. People don't realize how much you work and how many days you can work when you get on that circuit. So I mean, yeah, you got to admit it's hard. You've done it, so it's hard on your body, and you need a break every once in a while. You just do because you're always gone. But
And the
Germany,
older you get, the more it feels. And I'm
admit,
feeling it now at my comeback, just taking a bump a couple times.
Yeah.
But I can roll in so many ways, and I'm just trying to get back in shape. And it's exciting.
We can fall down the ways. But you got to admit, you've done the Germany and Austria tour. That's the best. There's nothing better. You go to that town, you stay there for 30 days, you meet great chicks. I mean, it is a blast. And you don't have to drive around everywhere. Then you go to the next town, do the same tournament. It was the best experience ever.
Yeah, I only did it where it was only Otto was closing it down at that time. Rhino got me on the tour, and it was like we did 10 days, but still it was one building 10 days. People were like, "Why are we running one building 10 days?" But that was what it pretty much did in Bremen.
It's a tournament.
Yep, just the tournament. Yes.
Yeah.
And they all believed it wasn't a work too. It was
they showed up and they believed it. So it was stiff. You know that. We were there.
I got in a shoot with somebody in the ring.
Because those people, because they want to see something real. It's called catch for a reason.
Exactly. All right, go ahead, Frank, with another. So Dave has his book out, author to author. Frank, what author question would you like to ask Dave? Because that's the big thing. If he was a Western author, you'd have 20 questions, Frank. But go ahead and what questions? Because the author is an author. You guys are brothers. Paul's a brother. I've still not written a book yet. And I've represented authors for 10 to 15 years. It's coming soon, but I want a New York Times bestseller. Go ahead, Frank.
No kid.
Okay, so this is a biography, right?
Yes.
Right. It's not in history, but is it history of wrestling at the time? Is that part of this book, or is it just about your life?
Yes. Yeah. And it was about how I got there, and then kind of what wrestling was at that time. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you had to do a lot. Obviously, you're pulling from your own life experience, and you're pulling from the industry, the wrestling industry. Okay. Did you have fun writing this thing?
Yeah.
Or what is a toil?
It kind of both. It was fun because it brought back good memories, but it's like anything, it's work at it and everything else, and try to think everything and then put it in chronicle order and all that stuff. So yeah, it's time consuming. As you well know, you're an author. You've done it a hell of a lot more than I have. So I mean, but it's fun to do it. When you're done, you're happy.
So why did you write it? What was the reason now for writing the book?
My football coach here played here at UNO, Sandy Buddha. He wrote a book on his coaching career, and we were out at some alumni event. We were talking, drinking. You should write a book, Bill, about your life, because it's an interesting thing about you, and you made it all the way to the top, and you should just do one. So he always coached me up in college, so he coached me up there, and I went ahead and started doing it.
See, everyone does it. Here's a stat for you guys, all you authors out there. 90% of people want to write a book, but only a very short percentage, I think 10 to 20%, have written a book. Can you believe that? So there's tons of people out there. We have our own publishing company, Holloman Publishing.
Oh, really?
Paul Hollis and I, and Paul's in the back end right now, where we help authors, more of a vanity publishing type of thing, to write a book. You pay, we'll do the cover, editing, and all those different things. But so many people have a story. And, you know, Dave, you and I we could tell stories all day long about professional wrestling or any of the things. You playing college
especially if you put
football.
a bear in front of
Yeah,
especially if you
but
put a bear
also
in front of
college
you.
football. College football,
Yeah.
pro football. We have stories galore. I have, as a college basketball player, the stories of those experiences. How much was it like saying, oh my gosh, I got to write this stuff down and remember this? And how fun was it to kind of reminisce?
It was good to reminisce. It's a pain to remember because, you know, like when you lived like we have a good, decent life, so you've been in a lot of things and happened a lot of things. It's tough to always to put them in the right order. They're in your brain, but to get them out and put them in the right order so it makes sense.
Right. And Frank, that's
As
the
you
hard
read
part.
it, so you know that you're following the right thing.
Frank, you know, and Frank talks about it with me all the time about the process of a writer, especially he writes fiction books. And that's rough, Frank, isn't it? All the things you have to come up with.
Well, yeah, you got to create your universe, and then you work out the plot of the people in it, whatever. Now, I've also written nonfiction books. I've written several. In fact, I had 2 bestsellers, 25,000 copies they sold. It's got to do with how to create an online business. And the way I write a nonfiction book is basically I create a PowerPoint presentation, and I start with the part 1, part 2, part 3. What am I going to say about in part 1? What am I going to say about 2? Break them down by slides in part 1, and then sub slides and sub slides. When you're all done with that, you really all you got to do is just write it all up, and you've written your book. So that's my process on how to do nonfiction.
Wow.
Did you do a ghostwriter? You did this all yourself. You did it all yourself.
I had a ghostwriter. John Fye helped me.
Okay. But you, you're a coach, were you a teacher too, or just coaching when you've coached?
No, I taught, and now that I'm semi-retired, I teach substitute. I substitute teach. We just got a day off today because there's no school today. Thank goodness.
Why is there no school today? Because the holidays coming up.
And then, yeah.
So you taught, what subjects did you teach as a teacher?
I was always in physical education or strength training in college. Now because of my degree, I teach about anything. I've been in sped one room one day, and then last week I was in the pack room, which is all the kids at the school that are in trouble in the back room. So I got to keep them all in line. And then I went from kindergarten to 12th grade, so done it all. And I like the variety because then you get to see what other kids, how they're growing up, and kind of help them.
Exactly.
I like to give back.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, we lived an amazing life. That's the thing I look at, you know, especially even though I gave up wrestling a lot earlier than you did. And I wrestled about, I guess, 6 years, but it was an unbelievable 6-year ride. And now I'm going to make another ride. And so I guess I'm not the retired wrestler, but I definitely don't want to say I've been wrestling 30 years. No, I've been wrestling 7 or 8 years. That's how I always will put it. I won't say but as a podcaster, radio host, TV host, I've interviewed 20,000 people. I've done over 15 years in this business, and I know this business, and I could talk about it all day long. That's why I'm become the media giant. So coming back, media giant. Frank, you like that gimmick, right? That's perfect for me. Don't you agree, Frank?
Oh, yeah, sure is. I will do. You're so connected with so many media people because of your wrestling background. I mean, come on.
I used part of that, but I learned the business. So how much of your life is wrestling? This is a great question for any pro wrestler that truly lived the business. You did the territories. I did a semi-territory, and I worked a bunch for an independent in the Attitude Era. Didn't get to where you got. I wish I would have had the opportunity, but I guess I should never give up, right? If I go viral, who knows? You might see me on AEW in a year. There's not many 6'10" guys that can work, right? So they never know what can happen. But looking back at this, how much did you learn from wrestling you use in your daily life? I do it all the time because we learn so much about psychology. These guys don't know psychology anymore, but I sure as hell know psychology, and I'm able to
We
really
do. We
think
do.
about and
We
look in
learned how
the
to read
human
people.
brain because we're carnival act. We were taught how to be carnies. And carnies
Right.
are the best people to understand and really know as much as a licensed psychologist, in my opinion. Right?
Right. Well, I think Jesse the Body said it the best one time. When they asked him what about being governor, he said, "Hey, pro wrestling prepared me more than anything else I did in my life. How to handle people, deal with people, and realize it's all magic tricks.
It's all a work. Life's a work. The
You know,
Chiefs winning the
it's
Super Bowl is a
all
work.
it's
I'm
all
telling
work.
you,
And it was a work. And what's going on in our political systems a work and the whole damn thing.
they all get along. They're all friends, and they're all laughing at the audience getting
Oh,
mad at each other, want to kill because they're getting paid.
Yeah, the people that call it a uni party, that's right on. That's what they are. They get behind closed doors. You're dang right. Now you go out and you tell them this. We're going to tell them this. And we'll get them all ready. You know, and then we'll do this.
Well, I definitely want to have you back on again to talk
Exactly.
wrestling, especially we're going to definitely hook up. I'm telling you, my documentary, which I'll be announcing next week, Indiegogo. I want to travel. I wrestle in about 17 states. I want to wrestle in every one of them in the documentary. And I'm looking at, I never wrestled in Nebraska. I guess I did in Omaha one time in WWE. So I got to add that to the list. Maybe that'll be one of the last ones. And I want to go to Bremen, Germany as well to do it one more time. This whole kind of feature.
Cool.
Where can people get your book and find out more about you? I know are you doing any signings and stuff for your book and all
I'm
that?
going to do one. I'm going to do one this weekend at MMA show, MWA show in Grand Island, Nebraska. Then I'll be doing one down at here Saturday, DJ's Dugout, on the 27th on a Tuesday, there at the bar, doing one there here in Omaha. And then I'll start probably doing some around the Midwest. But if you're coming here to do a thing, help me help you get something set up. Let's do something in Omaha or Lincoln, Nebraska, and have
Oh,
some
you
fun with
bet.
this.
I'm going to talk to you about what's going on in the documentary, talk about some of these other films I'm being involved in. We're going to collaborate in some way. That's the power. See, this is what I'll tell you right now. If any author, anyone does not create a podcast is the future of meeting people. And if you have the skill set and you want to put the time in, you can meet anyone. Paul Hollis, who's on the side right now listening, has interviewed celebrities with me. I have clients that co-host with me interviewing major celebrities. And it was just so cool catching up. And I just saw a Facebook post and I just reached out to you and sent a DM. Go figure all those different things. But you are on the number 6 celebrity podcast in the world, according to FeedSpot. My celebrity list is a mile long, but we're going to add you to the wrestling list on my website. You saw I interviewed Stone Cold, Triple H, and all that. So there's not a lot of guys that have this kind of leverage. Well, I appreciate it, man. Best place. Is it Amazon? Do you have a website or do you go to Amazon to buy it?
It's on just Amazon and look up meet Dave Sullivan.
Appreciate it, Dave. Thank you,
call
Frank.
me anytime.
FrankFiore.com. I'd love to always have you on. You seem like it seems like we have some kind of similar backgrounds, leaving wrestling to be educators.
Love to work with. Yeah, love to work with you.
All right.
Tell those two other guys it's great to meet them.
All right. You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show and also Author's Corner, and we'll be back in just a moment.